juggling. So today in the virtual fireside chat, we'll be discussing how to secure cloud migration for financial institutions. And lots of great partners here today with me. So sponsored by Matillion, but we also have ALTR, Snowflake, and Wavicle. And we have a customer that will be joining us in the fireside chat as well from TDECU Credit Union. So let's do a quick round of introductions and we'll go through in the order on the slide deck. So, and I'll let each of you introduce yourselves today so that they're not hearing from me the whole time. But I'll start out. My name is Mark Balkenende. I'm a Senior Director of Product Marketing here at Matillion, and I will be the moderator of our fireside chat today. Over to you, Ethan.
Thanks, Mark. My name is Ethan Pack. I'm the Vice President of Enterprise Architecture at TDECU. We are the largest credit union in Houston, the fourth largest in Texas. Very much been in the banking financial services space pretty much my entire career with an intense focus on data, and I look forward to a great chat today. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Paul?
Hi, I'm Paul Franz. I'm run business development at ALTR. I actually started my career a long time ago as a commercial lender at Bank One after having graduated the credit training program. And I've been in Austin area startups for about the last 30 years and been at ALTR now about 4.5 years. Delighted to join y'all today.
Excellent. Thank you. Patrick?
Hey, thanks. Patrick Purviance. I'm a senior solutions architect with Wavicle. I've been with Wavicle around 7 or 8 months. Came from a very large kind of a conglomerate company before, where we did a lot of financial work with data lakes. So I have about 20 years of data experience. Pretty much my entire career has been built on data. So that's why we're here. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Stephen, you're next, or Steve.
Thanks, Mark. My name is Stephen Dixon. I'm a senior sales engineer for Snowflake. I cover a lot of our financial services customers on the West Coast in our named accounts group. I come from a long line of data, going all the way back to DB2 on a mainframe years and years and years ago, all the way through Oracle and Microsoft to find my way here to Snowflake. I'm excited to be here today.
I think everybody on this call is familiar with all those things you just mentioned, so I know I am. Awesome. So just we're going to do a quick overview of what each one of our products do and companies do, and we'll end with Ethan talking a little bit more about TDECU Credit Union, and then we'll jump right into the fireside. So I've limited these guys to their 2-minute elevator pitch for each one of their companies, and including me. So we'll see how well I do, because I'm going to go first. So about Matillion. So Matillion is a cloud data platform, data integration platform, and we support all the major cloud data platforms out there in the market, Snowflake being our biggest partner for sure. The 4 things that we always love to talk about is how easy Matillion is to use. We allow our customers to get value faster out of their cloud migrations and their cloud implementations. It's a low-code, visual, repeatable design tool that allows you to really develop and get value of your data faster. We were built and born in the cloud. We're born in the cloud, unlike some of our competitors that have retrofitted into the cloud platforms. We were born there. And so everything just natively works. When ELT push down type platform, everything is running on the Snowflake platform and using that transformation power that Snowflake gives you. And we're designed for that enterprise, right? We're enterprise scale, security, everything that the enterprise needs. We are designed for that purpose and use cases, all these things delivering that transformative value. So again, Matillion is a cloud native data integration platform. We help customers pull data from their sources, load it into Snowflake, and generate that useful data, whether it's generating schemas for reporting, for BI reporting, or doing feature preparation and things like that for data science, as well as we have the ability to do some pushback to operational systems such as Salesforce and Intercom and others. Companies like DocuSign have been able to deploy Matillion and saw value in just 2 days from the time they deployed it into their environment and started using it with their engineers, had live reports up in 2 days in production. Very impressive stories of how fast we can help customers see value with their data in the cloud. And hopefully that was under 2 minutes. And now on to you, Patrick.
There again, Patrick Berviance, Senior Solutions Architect with Wavicle. Wavicle is a niche data and analytics consulting firm. We're based out of Chicago, Illinois. However, I am based out of Wichita, Kansas, so right in the middle of the U.S. We specialize mostly in like world-class data and analytics service delivery for companies of various sizes. The services that we traditionally offer cover full scope cloud data migrations, ETL tool migrations, conversions, so converting from some unnamed product to Matillion, right in our wheelhouse. We have a lot of accelerators for getting your data to the cloud, migrated seamlessly with some data quality and data ops, really just specializing in getting you moved from on-prem to the cloud, and then also greenfield data engineering and data science work, specifically around computer vision, text and voice analytics solutions. And we also have a data governance project and consulting competency. We operate today and have partnerships and competencies and designations with AWS, Azure, and GCP. And I'd say, finally, if we move to the next slide, right, we've got a list of, our esteemed clients, those who have found the benefits of working with Wavicle to move that needle faster for getting to analytics in the cloud, using a lot of the products that you're going to see presented here today.
Excellent, thank you. On to you, Paul. 2-minute pitch.
Great. So, yeah, no worries. So ALTR really helps accelerate the time to value that customers can get out of Snowflake. And we do this through, really regardless of where someone is in their Snowflake journey. We bring enhanced data governance and data protection capabilities to bear through a cloud native integration. We really extend all of Snowflake's native capabilities, making them infinitely easier to use, making them easier to scale and run automation. But we also provide some very unique capabilities, really designed to help reduce the many risks associated with unlocking the value of highly sensitive data. And we fit very seamlessly into the whole data ecosystem. We've got a complete API infrastructure underlying our platform and have integrations with all the existing tooling out there, whether it's data catalogs, ETL, BI tools, InfoSec like SIM stacks and whatnot. And so we not only help accelerate the value you get out of Snowflake, but we also complement and help drive value out of that existing tool set. And in fact, anybody who's a Snowflake customer can get started with us instantly for free on Partner Connect. So we pride ourselves in being very easy to use, no code, cloud native.
Awesome. And on to you, Stephen, for Snowflake. Hopefully, I think everybody probably knows who you are, but especially after your big summit last week, but please.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, thank you. I'll start by saying, Snowflake is the cloud data platform. It doesn't matter what cloud we run, on AWS, Azure, and GCP. We are the platform for all of your data, being able to bring it together, but not only be able to bring it together, but to be able to share it with the people you want to share it with. And that's a really important message in today's world, because most enterprises cannot just get everything they need to get done just with their own data. So I want to call out a couple of specific things. One, I've done successful projects with ALTR and with Matillion. I haven't had the pleasure of working with Wavicle yet, but I'm sure we will. And I just want to say that they are phenomenal partners, and Snowflake intends to partner and be partner friendly as we make our customers successful. And that's very important to us. As you see, you've probably seen a version of this slide if you've talked to Snowflake before, so I won't belabor it, but I'll say last week at Summit, we announced some new workloads, Unistore being one of them, being able to take some of your operational data and have it in a hybrid structure so that you would be able to have immediate analytical access to it We also did a lot of work around cybersecurity and then working with open table formats. So from Snowflake's perspective, we are all about making data available for you to be successful.
Excellent, thank you. Very good. I think we all did a pretty good job keeping it in 2 minutes, so thank you very much. Ethan, I'm going to hand it over to you as the star of the show, really, to talk a little bit, give us some background on TDECU, credit union, and then we'll jump into the fireside chat from there. So,
perfect. Thanks again, Mark. And much like I shared briefly during the intro, we are the largest credit union in Houston, Texas, fourth largest in the state of Texas. We've been on quite the transformational journey indeed. And you can see by our mission statement, our purpose, helping people navigate their financial journeys. Those 6 words really embody everything we seek to do. We are an extremely member obsessed, like a bank, they're customers. For credit unions, they are members. They are owners of the credit union cooperative. So we are extremely focused on serving them. And much like a publicly traded company has the 3 legs of the stool, employees, shareholders, and customers, we get the 2-for-1 benefit where our members both serve as shareholders and customers. We've had tremendous growth over the last, decade. In my tenure, I've been with the organization since December of 2017. So as I approach the 5-year mark later this year, really excited about the efforts that we're doing. And so much of it leans on and requires data. And that's really where a point that I heard every speaker share as they were reviewing their solutions in their organizations is that word speed. And that has been one of the biggest things for us is how do we have faster speed to insights and intelligence, faster speed of processing, mitigating we all know the dreaded batch processing times that our legacy and on-premises data warehouses and data supply chains can really come with. So that speed notion has been a big one for us. So our journey into the entire cloud data platform space really looked at, of course, Snowflake at that center, going into a leading cloud data warehouse technology and overall platform where the data warehouse is our central focus, and then the surrounding technologies to make it operate, which is where Matillion was a no-brainer as far as ETL and ELT from a data transformation and data loading perspective. And then on top of the speed, another S word, security. We know that organizations still get a bit freaked out about the cloud. So security, and of course, being a financial institution, security is paramount. So that is where we really looked at a great solution that could help cloud native security and apply the things that oftentimes are static data governance policies into actual actionable in the moment applications of those policies, which really led us to ALTR. So the long story short on everything is these partners on the call here really embody that focus of speed, ability to execute, and certainly going with our cloud first strategy and vision. We have a lot of ambitions as far as developing this platform to serve our members in the way that they require in the 21st century. And of course, data is at the heart of that.
Awesome. Awesome. Great shout outs to all of us. Thank you very much. So I think that's a great lead in. You already did touch in, Ethan, quite a bit on really what is the journey to the cloud and what are the challenges in both technical and culture. So before we get started, I just want to let the audience know, use the Q&A panel, the Q&A feature in here to ask us questions along the way. I'll keep an eye on that as the other speakers are talking and try to filter in the questions where they make sense for sure. So please, the Q&A, not the chat. The chat is harder for all of us to see, where the Q&A is much easier. So questions are welcome as we go through this fireside chat. So with that, I think, Ethan, we wanted to start out a little bit with a little bit more depth around how you started this journey. How, being a credit union, securities, like you mentioned, super important. So what were the challenges on just getting this kicked off, getting the move to the cloud kicked off? And then I think from there, as you go through some of these challenges, we'll go across the different people on the panel here and talk about those things. So take it away a little bit, Ethan, for us.
Yeah, sure thing. And I'll add another S word into the mix as one big why for moving to the cloud, and that is breaking down silos. wanting to democratize our data, make it safely available to consumers within the organization, and have those things available, have the data available for usage in APIs in this ecosystem. As we think about trends like banking as a service, open banking, that aspect of smashing down silos to have data in a place that all sorts of consumers and services would be able to use is a big part of it. And that's really where I love the call out to both technology and culture. I'll start back with us on the culture side. It's definitely an area where we have to communicate the why, and certainly as more technologist thinkers, really showing that the business outcomes that moving to the cloud provides. And certainly speed, as I shared earlier, is a big one, but also that notion of flexibility and agility, knowing that we are in, and if we've learned anything from the pandemic as we continue emerging and distancing from the heat of it, is that aspect that nothing is predictable in this world. And we knew that before, but we definitely know that even more so now. So being able to have an organization that's better positioned to be built for change, to be able to seize opportunities more swiftly, that was a big part from how data needed to be positioned to enable that aspect of quick ability to execute and deliver on whatever the future may require for us. And then moving over to the culture, continuing rather on the culture side, it is that notion of educating stakeholders. And we certainly have heard feedback internally as far as data not being available, wanting to have access to more data, wanting to be able to quickly introduce third-party data sources. And that is an aspect that we continue growing in, is mixing the core, the crown jewels, if you will, the transaction, the account, the people data that makes our organization work with outside data sources, be it Google Analytics from the website, Experian from credit reporting, or anything else that we want to mash together to get better insights was a big part of that as well. So just educating on how the world is changing, just fundamentally in that regard, and where data plays with it. We gave, and I certainly know that myself and my team gave a tremendous amount of attention and really emphasizing that we have to move forward and make things happen so that we're not caught by surprise, or just better postured and positioned for executing on other things that we have. We have a very aggressive and progressive and appropriate slate of strategic efforts that we were striking out at. That includes major CRM implementations, member engagement technology platforms, branch technologies, bringing in new loan origination systems, new security and fraud tools. So with all of that change around the organization, we really wanted to give and had to give intense treatment on how data had to be is the lowest common denominator to all of those pieces. So then sliding up into those two words on the technological or technical side of things, we knew that we had to find ourselves in a place that was more future-proof than not. Again, knowing that we can't predict the future, we wanted to have the best crystal ball that we could. And that really got us into, okay, where is this data going to reside? We're primarily a Microsoft shop. And so I'll speak more to kind of the overall data supply chain as we look at our cloud approach in a bit. But being more of a Microsoft shop, we knew that we have some Azure services that would be a part of the picture, but we needed something that was enterprise grade and brought the muscle from having data available. And when it came to Snowflake, the speed, if we look purely on a technology speed perspective, the amount of data that can be crunched, processed, stored in Snowflake compared to others, as some of the other speakers have mentioned, is mind-boggling. So just that, on a apples to apples time of transformation, time to get things in place and ready for utilization, certainly made Snowflake a no-brainer. And again, with Matillion, we knew that we needed something that was cloud ready from that the extraction, transformation, and loading, or ELT, depending on which way you want to look at it, and knowing how much Matillion and Snowflake were so seamless in their partnership as organizations. For us, it didn't take much to really look at what we needed to do in that regard. And then, as I shared earlier, when we think about securing data in the cloud, in a place that's real time, that takes data governance from just the things that we want to do into the actual alerts in the governance, the governance is breaking and preventing of data access by unauthorized users, and knowing how data is being accessed. Again, that also made ALTR a very simple decision as well. We looked at it as an overall platform, And we didn't want to sacrifice any area from what we needed to deliver. And that's really what really made the technical side of it very easy compared to really communicating the why and really evangelizing this new world that we're entering into and operating in.
Excellent, Ethan. And by the way, thank you. You're making the job for Stephen and Paul and I very easy. So thank you. Those are great things, and so many things there that we could shoot off of. You know, who wants to jump on this one first? Maybe because you did such great shout outs to us. Go ahead, Paul. I was going to give Patrick a chance, but go ahead.
Sorry, Patrick. We work across financial services extensively, and we work with a lot of financial institutions, credit unions, standalone banks. Many of them are not to TDECU's size as far as assets go. And I think one of the things that we found is they don't have the full, like the bench strength that TDECU does in technology and IT and governance and data. And so they're looking for partners who can really be force accelerators for them. Banks traditionally don't have cloud competencies. They've lived in an on-prem world. And so you have this kind of, you've got the technical challenges and maybe not all of the core competencies available, but then you also have the cultural challenges that you have to overcome. And I think it's really that confluence that this team of partners brings together. It's the tooling, it's the acceleration, it's the outcomes. And so we're seeing the same thing I think you went through, Ethan. We're seeing the same kind of challenges, but also helping people overcome those.
It's definitely not the first place to jump to the cloud, or the first industry to jump on the cloud is the financial industry for sure. So it's really good to hear Ethan's story and Paul, how you help them really add that extra layer of security. And so maybe we'll go to Stephen and talk about the security of data, and then Patrick, I'm going to come back to you to really talk about really how you guys help implement this type of world and environment and culture. But Stephen, you want to talk a little bit about the security, maybe as well as the speed? But I think Ethan gave you a great plug on the speed already. But the security of Snowflake that you provide them. So.
Absolutely. One of the things that our founders knew going into building Snowflake in the cloud was that if we were going to be successful, and especially for organizations like Ethan's that are financial services organizations, we had to have a way to make sure that we had a base level of security available for customers to start with. And that included always encrypted data all the time, no matter what. Can't turn it off, it's always there. Now, that's something that we've done as a base for the ground up. Now, tokenization, being able to manage your encryption keys, those types of things, those are the things that ALTR can really bring to the table to be able to help you manage that effectively. But from a Snowflake perspective, you start out with a base security setting that's going to be better than most databases out there. We are high trust, high tech certified. So if you're looking for HIPAA compliance, if you're looking for being able to support GDPR, CCPA, all of those things are things that Snowflake takes very seriously and really wants to focus on. Today, we are FedRAMP moderate. We are looking to be FedRAMP high in the near future, later this year. So security has always been a foundational piece of Snowflake. And then, the things that we wanted to build, we worked with partners like ALTR to be able to build on top of Snowflake to make it even more secure. So financial services organizations have been coming to Snowflake in droves because we can provide that security, and not only provide that security in Azure, but we can do it in AWS and GCP as well.
Excellent. I'm going to little plug Matillion, and then Patrick, I really want you to talk about how you guys really help deliver this type of environment to you from a services standpoint. But Matillion, the way Matillion is deployed is through an EC2 or through a virtual machine inside of Azure, inside of our customers' environments. That allows them to be even more secure and less hops. It doesn't ever come to Matillion. And that's one of the big advantages that financial services customers see with Matillion is how our deployment model works today. And it makes them much more comfortable. And I'm sure, Ethan, that it was an advantage for you as well to be able to keep Matillion inside of your Azure secure networks and things like that. So Patrick, to you now as Wavicle, and what are some of the things that you work with your clients on to really help build this type of environment, this stack across that you're seeing here today?
Yeah, so I want to echo Ethan's comments around the story that TDECU has is not unique at all, right? We see companies and organizations of varying sizes, right, struggle with the mental model of being able to continue running on-prem day-to-day activities, and the typical run and maintain that they've got to do while learning how to move to the cloud, right? It's an expensive and can be a long engagement and endeavor. Upskilling your talent base, right? It's a tough thing for any size company. Could be 50 employees, could be 50,000, 150,000, right? It can be very difficult. So one of the things that Wavicle offers, and one of the reasons why I jumped from one of those 160,000 employee companies, was because I saw the growth, specifically in data and analytics, and how there were so many companies like TDECU wanting to move, but not finding that that easy button. And there truly is no easy button, but Wavicle comes to bear with a lot of accelerators that have been built in-house, and then our partnerships with a lot of the software companies that are leading in the spaces of innovation when it comes to getting you to the cloud and moving faster and providing better overall TCO. I think that's one of the call outs that we like to make. Labor is always going to be the most expensive thing, and I think a lot of companies miss that. And so having accelerators and the right partners to help steer you towards the most cost-effective solutions, the ones that are going to bring the greatest value, I think that's where where all of these companies that are represented here today shine. And so we're super proud to be a part of the partnerships and to be building these relationships, because it helps us also, right, in getting our customers to where they want to be, which is meeting their business outcomes. So that's a very consistent story.
Excellent, thanks, Patrick. So back to you, Ethan. Quick, I know as we were prepping for this, you talked about where you are in your journey, and I think it'd be good for the audience to really hear, where is TDECU at in their journey in this migration? What are some of the challenges you've already overcome to this date, and when do you think, when are you projecting to have things done too, as well, for the team or for the audience?
Yeah. So one aspect of our approach was knowing that we needed to learn a lot and get a feel for how these technologies work. So fourth quarter of last year, we embarked in a cloud data platform proof of concept, which then brought in and utilized all of the solutions that we've been talking about so far. And that really involved establishing first, just what does this look like? And a big part of that, and that's probably one of my first suggestions for the audience, is really understanding what that, like I said, that data supply chain in the cloud looks like, and also factoring in securing it. How also can we improve data quality, providing a better data model that's much more adaptive and, for us, member-centric, customer-centric than what we had in place already. So we did the proof of concept with Snowflake, Matillion, and ALTR in fourth quarter last year. Again, very impressed with the technical measures and metrics for all of the solutions, and then just how easily, frankly, they played together. So in the name of tooling and getting used to it, I really appreciate Patrick's point. Every organization, and Paul as well, every organization doesn't have the ability to execute internally. And again, we have some great people and great talent in that space, but we also still needed to ensure that we knew what needed to happen and how we would pull this off. So that proof of concept helped us a ton, and even more so because it's all about people and relationships, really gave us a good feel for the actual sales cycle, the people involved, and the support, the architects that assisted us. So that was the first part in the story of the end of 2021 is the POC phase. We continued into this year in the actual beginning of the implementation, actually getting the formal agreements on what we needed to have in place to start off with, going and having those the procurement of the various technologies in place. And then also now taking those very beginnings of data pipeline needs and making them so. So a big focus for us was really on the majority and the critical entities. And that's really that understanding of one's kind of conceptual data model as an organization. That is a big must do to really give yourself the focus on how you actually want to start putting things in these technologies. So for us, that really centered on people, accounts, transactions at its core. How do we ensure that those entities were modeled in the proper way? And that certainly was the story as we started in Q1 of this year, and as we continue it now as we approach the midpoint of the year. And then continuing in this implementation phase, we have an internal team metric that we would have no less than 30% of our enterprise assets required for reporting purposes in Snowflake by the end of the year. I have a very strong feeling we'll far surpass that 30% number and really approach the doorstep of having everything done and in place. So that's a big plus for us. Again, back to that speed word, speed of ability to get started and the cost effectiveness, frankly, of all these solutions as well. And that's, again, we all know the cloud model and just the way that these solutions are priced and how that operates. Again, when I think Snowflake and Matillion, especially very similar in that model of the sizing and the consumption, how things are used from a storage and compute perspective. And then we get into, as we get all the data in place and as our teams feel good about all of it being in Snowflake, we then transition into understanding now the reporting implications. What dashboards, reports, otherwise data extracts need to be repointed and migrated to this new Snowflake environment and our new cloud data platform environment. Some of those efforts are getting started. We still have other business stakeholders that are working to identify pieces there, but that is the critical mile, is going from implementation to operationalization and utilization of the technologies. And that certainly is in the 2023 horizon, just to ensure that everything ticks and ties and functions the way we need to. And that's a big consideration as we start thinking about what is this going to look like to repoint Power BI dashboards and our legacy SSRS reports to Snowflake and the actual data reconciliation and data quality measures to ensure that, again, regulatory reporting and statutory reports are aligned with what our expectations were as we reported previously. And back to that communication and culture point, having the communication and the culture of this is now what it looks like as we use it, and starting to share more of the art of the possible as folks now have a reference of what this looks like apart from, PowerPoint slides and discussions. It's now actual, at that point will be actual data that folks can use and explore. And I think that's a big benefit of how we approached it as well, is having broad representation. Our insights and analytics team that actually consumes data primarily in the organization, to ensure they're involved in all the modeling. Some of our core banking experts, I mentioned the phrase crown jewels before, that core banking data is indeed our crown jewels. So how do we make sure that we have the right folks and the right stakeholders in the mix to ensure that we're treating the data properly? And as we reestablish a new schema in Snowflake and all the pieces that get it there, how we actually support what things need to happen today. And then based on our overall structure, and I'll touch on that in a second as well, how do we start enabling some of those data science use cases? A lot more of that data exploration, data discovery, mixing and matching data in a place that it's well governed at that central place, those core entities, but also making it easy for various business stakeholders and other data consumers to introduce their own insights. So before I wrap here, I'll just give a brief overview of our data supply chain with Snowflake and our surrounding technologies. The first place, and I mentioned we're primarily a Microsoft shop, so the first place that all of our data sources lands is in Azure Data Lake. And that is very much a raw zone, pure raw. We have CSV files that represent the data, but in the name of allowing for those third-party data sources, we commonize down to just CSV files there. And that is where Matillion then takes off into getting things into Snowflake. So Matillion reaches into that Azure data lake and puts it up into our landing zone in Snowflake. And that's where the preliminary data cleansing occurs, things that start getting the data to look right as we need to store it in a more structured fashion. That all happens in our landing zone. The structured zone or the staging zone, but really that structured zone gets it into the relational data model. That actually is the core data that needs to be represented in reports and dashboards and all that good stuff. So that really is the core area of only data that has to go into what we typically think of as the legacy EDW. That happens in that structured zone, getting things massaged and put into the right structure. And then finally, our consumption zone or consumer zone, that is where we have Snowflake data marts, and we'll continue evolving in that space, like I mentioned, still getting some of the core machinery in place and rolling to get data populated. But that consumer zone leans on data marts, that line of business partners, be it our marketing team or our retail banking team, our business banking team, our lending team. How do we provide those clean views and ready to utilize data sources and data repositories to snap into our existing reporting and dashboarding, as well as things that our end users would want to do on their own?
Awesome. There's a lot there to unpack, but it sounds like it's going really, really well. And happy to hear that you may actually be ahead of schedule, which is somewhat a rare thing, I think, in the rare thing in our industry, as we all know. As I was listening to you talk through that, Ethan, I just kept thinking security through all this, and data governance and data. You talked about data quality, and maybe Paul, you could talk a little bit about how you play a part in those. One of the questions that did come in on the chat was, does Matillion natively integrate with ALTR? I know we have some integration points, but we are working to actually have a real native integration coming very soon. But can you talk about the security of how you help govern and the security throughout this process that Ethan just explained?
Yeah, absolutely. And to answer the second question first, yeah, we do have actually an integration with Matillion that allows us to invoke our tokenization on source data, either on ingest or inception, and then Matillion can actually traverse tokens through their process and land those securely in the Snowflake. So we can protect those highly sensitive workloads from any potential threats through that process. But I think Snowflake has a best-in-class RBAC structure security model. And what we've done is come in and actually kind of put the belt with the suspenders. So we have, through our cloud native integration, we have the capability of giving very granular policy controls to data teams or to security teams or both, that can actually take a consumption-focused view of how data is being used. So we follow every query that's happening across data that you care about. And in Ethan's business and line of business, it's highly regulated. Having a complete audit trail of how data is being consumed and actually having visibility to what represents normal consumption becomes a really powerful vantage point for financial institutions, because not only do they have a full record of what's been going on about the data they care about, but they also can begin to understand what the normal consumption patterns are. Ethan was mentioning different lines of businesses and different stakeholders consuming and touching that crown jewel core data. Think of knowing what represents normal and then being able to come in and put active policy that reduces greatly the risks associated with those workloads, and being in a position where you can recognize when an abnormal request for data comes through. And the way that we work with Snowflake is right alongside their cloud native through their external function capabilities. So we're actually in a position not just to say, hey, we think something's going on. We're in a position to stop a query when even a credentialed user or a Snowflake admin is going in and getting more data than what Ethan and the governance teams say they should get. So it's really the notion of real-time active policy over the columns that you care about, with this complete exhaust of an audit trail, which the compliance and regulatory folks probably love, coupled with a whole new set of signals and alerts that Ethan's security partners can actually ingest, so that now they're a stakeholder as well. They're not worried, as they typically are when things are moving to the cloud, because they're getting a whole new set of signaling that shows, hey, this is the policy we created. This is how we codified it using ALTR, and here's the proof that it's in place. That's what matters to examiners, to regulators, to security professionals, and financial institutions.
Excellent. Yes. So, Stephen, you have anything to add on top of that? I was pretty well put by Paul, but
absolutely. The real value you get with ALTR and Snowflake is that you get actionable intelligence that allows you to take action immediately. We've had several customers that have come to us and said, we have had breaches in our data. It's taken us, 2 to 3 weeks to be able to figure out what the breaches were and how they happened, and all the pieces leading up to it. With ALTR, when things start to happen or people try to breach your data, you know about it immediately and you're notified immediately. So there is this, gap that most customers are dealing with in their market today, where ALTR just closes that gap completely and gives you that actionable intelligence immediately. And they're able to do that, in part because of the feature functionality that Snowflake provides under the covers, and works with ALTR really well. And so being able to have that information available and at your fingertips so that you can take action immediately really allows you to do things, that are very important, like keeping classification of your data and being able to understand when it's been breached and those types of things. So I can't stress enough how important it is to really secure, our data. And I say our data because I am using, credit union data, to manage my personal information and those types of things. And in our world, you have to make sure that all of our data is protected, because the people like me who are out here in the world, we are always using it, and we expect to have this level of security, when unfortunately a lot of our organizations just aren't quite there yet. So I'm hoping that this call today will help.
Hey, and Mark, I wanted to add one thing, because I think Snowflake drove this agenda for us, and I think probably for you guys too, is they became so easy to use, so easy to get started, so easy to get value out of it from the immediacy, that they forced all of us to make sure that we are the same way, easy to use. I mean, if security is complex, it's probably not going to get done. So being cloud native, being no code, having a free version available makes us really, really easy to use. And I know you guys are the same way. So that's like, it doesn't need to be a 6-month engagement with professional services involved to get up and going with us. It's a 6-minute engagement with no services involved.
I was going to say 10 minutes for us, but yes.
I will,
that's because
Mark, I will provide one example, and I'll tell you, working in the field with a lot of financial services customers as I do, I run into all kinds of partners. And when I have to pick up the phone and call somebody to come in and help me with any kind of data security, it's ALTR, with any kind of data, transformation, sourcing, moving, any kind of data mobilization, it's going to be Matillion. The reason is because I can either do a 3 or 4 month POC project with one of these other vendors, or I can show a customer something in 10 or 15 minutes. So it makes a huge difference in what you can get accomplished and how quick you can execute. And I would hope that Ethan would agree with that he's been able to execute as quickly as he's needed to be successful. But those are the reasons that, frankly, I'm at Snowflake, because we can make massive differences for our customers almost immediately.
Very quickly. Absolutely. Definitely. So Patrick, I'm sure you're listening to Ethan talk about his enterprise data stack, as we like to refer to it at Matillion, but how his data supply chain works from Azure. How long would it take for you guys to come in, do that type of assessment, and help a customer get going on something like this? And we're all talking about speed, obviously there's the technology part Ethan touched on, as that we all have touched on about how fast we can get our stuff up and running. There's the culture part as well. What's a typical engagement to get a workload going on this type of enterprise data stack that Ethan described for you guys?
I would say it varies based upon the organization, right? And the kind of the organizational change management that has to happen for companies to begin a digital transformation like that, right? Getting into that entire process sometimes takes a while. But from project origination, right? We're able to spin up projects and get the right resources. And again, because of what we just heard about the frictionless nature of some of the tooling, right? We can get into a POC and do a quick, analysis of current state. And because of the existing frameworks and known good patterns that we use for a lot of the migrations, because we do find that certain sets of tooling do enter the conversation quite regularly. It's those known good patterns that allow us to move so quickly and to get in front of leadership with the right signaling. And I think that's what's most important for getting the buy-in, right? So there's mental ascension that you need to do something, and then there's true buy-in. And the buy-in is a lot easier when you can see a known good pattern presented, with experience using these frictionless capabilities that are in the cloud today. So I didn't exactly answer you by saying, hey, we could get it done in 2 weeks.
No, there's no, I don't think there's any
really
good answer.
It really does come down to, kind of I'm not going to say the maturity of the organization or the company, but just where they are in that life cycle of, understanding the need to move and the value that it brings.
But
Mark,
I
got to say, Mark, Patrick is professional services. You can't put him in a box like that.
I know. I tried. But at the end of the day, Patrick, I think you nailed it. That it doesn't take the months and months to get the technology stood up. Now, the real challenge is more the culture. Getting the organization ready to go. And once you've got that buy-in, I think Ethan, you probably could talk to this too. But once you have the buy-in, that POC that you stood up quickly to show the value and show the security, show the things that they're concerned about, you could do that very quickly rather than, and you said at the beginning, Ethan, I'm not the one saying it, but some of those legacy vendors out there would take too long to do it. So where, you could really get that, show that quick win or show that, answer those questions very quickly and then keep the bus moving, right? Keep it going fast with the technologies. Would you agree, Ethan?
Yeah, absolutely, Mark. And that is the best part about our POC was indeed showing that speed and then using that as that catalyst to be able to have much more productive and results-oriented discussions and sharing the here's why behind it. So I definitely agree with that. And I also want to come back to Patrick's point as well. That's another one of those best practices that I would see is establishing those patterns. Just being able to have first, and certainly with Wavicle, a partner that can help you establish those patterns. Getting those things in place, that also contributes to how one can accelerate that journey. Having those building blocks and those reference points of here's how now you do these different transformations and migrations of data, and including the secure aspect behind it. Definitely wanted to kind of underscore his point on that. That's a very powerful piece that helped us as well, is really looking at the core common ways that data needs to move and surface for our end users.
Definitely. All right, we have about 10 minutes left. So I still don't see any questions in the Q&A, and we still have a good number of attendants, so feel free to ask any questions. And every time I move one of these Zoom things around, my bar at the bottom comes up. But while we wait for any questions coming in, I'd like to just give everybody 2 minutes to really wrap up your thoughts about the discussions today. And what people should think about and when they start their journey and get going down this route. And we'll start with you, Ethan, for sure. So what are your closing thoughts for today for the audience?
I'll go with 2 3-word phrases. Don't be afraid and take bold actions. These technologies, as many have shared on this call, they are pretty darn easy and certainly intuitive for folks that already have the kind of the core and legacy, dare I use that word again, but those established ways of data is working. It doesn't take tons to shift that thinking into working in this cloud native environment. So have that fortitude, ensure that you're clear on the business outcomes and have that vision for where you take your organization, include many others, but don't be afraid or feel like it's a daunting effort. These tools and certainly the resources that are available with Snowflake and their quick start programs and resources and Matillion, I mean, there are free trials for so many of these things. So being able to dip one's toes in the swimming pool, I think you'll find pretty swiftly that it's not too chilly to start really getting value out of cloud technologies for data.
Love it, Ethan. Love it. Thank you. Definitely not too chilly at all. I'm gonna go in the order from bottom to top that I see. So Paul, you're next.
Well, I think I'd echo what Ethan mentioned, and that is this is definitely a journey. It's definitely a marathon, but given the nature of the cloud and given the nature of the solutions that exist today, you can make real progress early. You can have real success soon. You can drive actually quantifiable outcomes in the very near term. So you should just get started. It's a daunting task to move an on-prem SQL data store that gets a daily dump from a core out to a cloud. But Snowflake makes that easy. Matillion moves it, makes it easy. ALTR protects it, and you've got valued partners like Wavicle who can help plan that journey. But I'd say get started. Like put that toe in that water, because you'll actually be delivering really great business outcomes much sooner than you think.
Excellent. Thank you, Paul. Patrick, you are next on my screen.
Mark, I think the thing that I would like to share that I think is the most important in that making that first step is just identifying that, that first workload. If you can identify the first workload, right? I'm not trying to boil the ocean. I know we all hear that routinely, but I think Ethan's points about getting to something to show as quickly as possible is how you get that traction and that buy-in, as opposed to the mental ascension. And so that's my recommendation, is finding something that the data pipeline and the actual workload and how it works today in your legacy environment, and start with that, and then get folks like these that are on the call. I mean, there's so much industry know-how here, right? So again, Ethan's point about don't be afraid, just to start reaching out, because that's primarily what we're all out here for, right? Is to help move that needle faster.
Excellent. I think you meant don't boil the pool. Just put your toe in it. Excellent. Thank you very much, Patrick, and couldn't agree more. Absolutely. So, Stephen?
I'd like to just address the more technical folks that I know that are on the phone out there listening, and let them know that everyone here is really available to help make you successful, and a good place to start, because a lot of people come away from a call like this and they say, wow, Ethan's doing fantastic things over there. He's getting it done very quickly. I want to be able to start and do that very same thing. And one of the best places I can say to start for you technical folks out there that are more geeky like me is please do go to Snowflake and start a free trial, and go out there and get Matillion off our Partner Connect and get ALTR off our Partner Connect, and then start working with it and playing with it to see what you can do. Because I know a lot of you have formulated ideas. You have a workload, as Patrick said, in your mind that you need to solve that one problem. And if we can help you get there, we definitely want to help you get there, because it is a much better path than all of my previous jobs, whether it's Microsoft or Oracle. Just being able to pave the way and get you to have something done as quick as possible with the right tools. It's all available for you right out there, ready to go. So any chance I'm talking to any of you technical folks in the crowd, please don't hesitate to jump in, because you can get started today.
Absolutely. Absolutely, I echo that very much. Thank you, Stephen. And I echo everything everybody said, from Ethan on up to Stephen. You know, start with that workload. Think of a good workload that you have in mind that would, you know, that maybe it's struggling, maybe it's not completing on time. Maybe you already have Snowflake and things aren't working in the pipeline. That's where Matillion will really help you out. Because some of the legacy vendors, as I said in my intro, just don't, I didn't say that, but I'm saying it now, don't take full advantage of the capabilities that Snowflake offers, or doesn't integrate well with Snowflake or ALTR and the others. So definitely, you know, as Patrick and others, start with that workload, prove that it works, and get going in the cloud. And then you can start building out that plan as how you start migrating these things over. So, and we all offer trials. Matillion has a 14-day trial. Happy to talk to your salesperson once you get going if you need more time. And same with ALTR. I know you have a trial as well. So,
we have a free forever product.
Free forever.
You can use it free forever.
Excellent. So I still don't see any questions. So I want to thank all the panelists, especially Ethan, from a customer standpoint, coming on and sharing your experiences with everybody on the call and sharing with us, and as well as the other esteemed colleagues of mine from Snowflake, Wavicle, and ALTR, for joining me today with Ethan and going through what I'm sure is a hot topic for a lot of people on how to really be successful moving to the cloud in the journey. So thank you very much, everyone, and especially thank you, Ethan, for joining us today.
Thank you, Mark. And again, thanks to all the other panelists as well. Really great chat. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ethan. Thanks, Mark. Thanks, everybody.